What's going on, Show Nation? It's Movie with Movie Gaming TV, and in today's video, I'm going to give you the new gameplay changes that you need to know about in MLB The Show 22 in regards to hitting, in regards to pitching, and in regards to fielding. There were updates to try and break metas. If you follow this channel throughout the year, we're going to develop new metas, but what kind of happens every single year is they see the meta of what everyone's doing, they try to nerf that, and what happens from there is we got to find new things that we're going to do from there. For example, Outlier, it's been reduced in the speed and the accuracy. Just to give you one example, Sinkers on the inside, they have had an increased par region as well, so they are less accurate if you throw a high and inside sinker, or if you throw a high inside off-speed pitch, like a high curveball, there's less of a chance that that's going to go where you want it to go. Something I found really interesting from this stream today too was when you have the par and you throw a perfect pitch, it doesn't necessarily go in the middle of the par. It can go anywhere in the par region. So that's something to consider this year. They said they nerfed pinpoint pitching just a little bit as well because they thought everyone picked it up too fast. Like we got too good at it too fast, which I kind of agree with. I mean, I just feel like I do like being able to dot, but it just also felt like pitches weren't getting left in the middle very often at all. And I did think it was pretty easy to pick up pinpoint after a while. So maybe that's going to help a little bit. It's like that fine balance between leaving pitches in the middle with user input that's good, and that also just not making every single pitch be dotted, that they're going to have to try and navigate as we move forward. But I think just a slight nerf to how good pinpoint is probably good overall for the game and making it a little bit more fun. One of the things that they kind of reiterated over and over again is they want to keep this game as realistic as possible. I think that's kind of something where it's a little bit CYA. So I think we want the game to be really, really simplified because it's a video game, but there's also anomalies that happen because it's a video game is one of the things I kind of took away from watching the stream today. So maybe you have a perfect foul ball on the inside pitch, which is very, very frustrating. You know what I mean? You put a perfect swing on it, it's a foul ball to the inside, but it should be happening not very often. That's kind of the thing. But because it's a video game, that is why it happens. It's just one of those things that they never will go like 1-0 with everything that happens in the gameplay. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you play this game. It's never going to be at the point where it's like a 1-0 reaction. That's not what they want. I don't necessarily think that's the best strategy, but I think it's a more of a realistic strategy because coding it to 1-0, I think actually might be pretty difficult. So that's kind of how I feel about that in general. One of the things as you watch this hitter hitting here, I mean, when the PCI is more in the zone, it's going to be bigger this year. And as it goes outside the zone, it's going to get smaller. That's a definite gameplay change. Hopefully that's going to lead to more foul balls and more strikeouts. That's something that they want to have happen so those long at-bats don't go on forever. Another thing that they talked about with pitching is the par regions on like a high and inside sinker. Those are going to be wider, especially high and inside curveballs and changeups, stuff like that. High off-speed pitches are going to have more of a chance to not just be able to dot. So you can't. One of the things we talked about last year in our tips is like throw high and inside sinkers. It's very, very difficult to hit. It's a moving fast pitch that breaks in on the hands. It causes the batter to break his bat quite often. So it's something that you would want to do. Now, a couple pitches aren't affected by this. The 4-seam fastball, the 2-seam fastball, and the cutter are all not affected by the par region up in the zone. So let me kind of reiterate that. So if you throw a high and inside fastball, it still has the same par region. I think the cutter, it was kind of like towards the MLB The Show 21, like a pitcher like Emmanuel Clace with a really, really fast cutter. I think the cutter is going to be the new meta pitch in MLB The Show 22. If it wasn't already at the end of MLB The Show 21, that's going to be the best pitch in the game because it moves a little bit and it's also really fast and the paw region doesn't get affected by it. So I think that's going to be something that a lot of like players are going to look for, is a pitcher that has like a really, really good cutter. I think overall as well, when I was playing the tech test, I feel like the pitch speeds are a little bit slower in this game. If you were expecting in this game though to have it more 1-0 like I was talking about, there's still going to be that element of randomness. They did talk a lot about things that we've talked about in the past on this channel as well. If it's on the inside half, you want to start your swing a little bit earlier. You're going to get more power if you start your swing earlier on a pitch on the inside. Down the middle, you want your timing to be perfect. On the outside, you want it to be like a little bit late. Think just early on a pitch on the inside, perfect on a pitch down the middle, and just late on a pitch on the outside, which is kind of reflective of what real baseball is like. So I think that's a good goal. What I'm kind of thinking about in this game as I watched it today too was they're kind of getting to the point where I'm not really sure what else they're going to be able to innovate in this game. As far as like, I think they're kind of covering every single thing that you would want to develop for a baseball game. One thing that they need to focus on now is they've gotten all this stuff in, is they need to really make sure that this game is not freezing online, stuff like that. That's what they can do next. So I feel like they've pretty much have gotten the entire game built out, but now it's going to be all about like, can you make it so it doesn't freeze online? Can you have servers that are going very well? So I like the direction they're heading with all the gameplay in that regard, but now it's just kind of like, it's like stability and graphical improvements as we move forward, because I feel like the underlying part of the game is getting to a point where it is pretty good. Is it going to be perfect? I wish it was more than anything in the world. I wish it was perfect all the time, like every single time. But I think just because it is a video game, it has weird things that happen. There's just glitches and weird things that happen when you play a video game. As much as I would like it to be perfect more than anything, that's just how it goes with that stuff. With the fielding is definitely going to be, you're going to get more animations if you have a higher fielding rating. So you really want to make sure that you have good fielding players that can hit well like that. The 5-tool player is obviously going to be the best player in MLB The Show. You can also do some fielding practice. Something I thought that was pretty cool is you can actually like practice robbing home runs. I don't know how many people are actually going to practice fielding. I think most people don't really practice pitching or fielding. I think they just practice hitting in custom practice, but it's going to be something to kind of looking forward to and see how that goes. Then obviously we have a video on the channel talking about the PCI anchor and how to get it where you would like to get it every single time. They talked a little bit about the PCI sensitivity, but they don't have a custom setting for your PCI sensitivity yet. It's more like if you start in the left corner, like, you know, if you start low and away, I should say, yes, you're going to move the stick a little bit less to a certain area, and that gives you more control over the PCI, but that's not really like an overall sensitivity rating, which I think a lot of people would like to have, because MLB The Show is really a lot like an FPS in the way it's played underneath the hood. I mean, you really have like an aimer that you aim at a target, and then you also have something that you do with the right stick when you're pitching, and I find the fielding to be pretty easy. Another cool thing about the fielding that they talked about though as well is you can get perfect throws to any base now, which is pretty cool. So if you get your timing down, which I don't think timing the throws is that difficult, and obviously if you have a better fielder with better arm accuracy, he's going to have a better window to do that. So it's just one of those things that I'm just kind of curious as to where they are going to improve other things. Like when I think about MLB The Show 23, and I know 22 hasn't come out yet, but when I think about 23, I'm just like, what can they really do? They've kind of answered all of these questions. I really think graphical improvements, and also I think they should focus on server stability, because they're starting to get to the point where the game is going to. I'm just kind of curious where they're going to be able to make improvements. I feel like they're going to hit some sort of a wall. They've kind of done everything they could do for making the game. So I think it's going to be pretty cool. I think it's going to be a lot like last year's game, but I think what they've done is they've tried to take out a lot of the metas that people used from last year's game, and we're going to have to develop new metas. So once they took away sinkers being kind of OP, everybody switched to outlier being OP. Now I think what that's going to be going into this next year, I think it's going to be the cutter. That's the one thing where I see like that's going to be able to be utilized by top players. Let me know what you thought about the gameplay stream. I mean, don't just take my word for it. Go watch it for yourself. Take a look at it. See what you think about it as well. And let me know down in the comment section below. Again, I apologize for the lack of uploads. Just I want you to know that I'm extremely busy trying to make this as best as possible. And sometimes that means dedicating yourself to like learning about different kinds of hardware that need to be implemented into my streaming setup and like just researching stuff like that. And that stuff takes a lot of time. So there's nothing more that I want to do than be back with you, but I'm just trying to make it as good as possible at the same time. So that's what I've been up to. I really hope the baseball season comes back too. I really do, because that's going to make more people buy this game, play this game, and in turn that makes the game better at the end of the day too, when they get more sales and stuff like that. So I hope that happens as well. Anyways, if we don't have actual baseball, at least we'll have MLB The Show. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and smash a like, hit the subscribe button. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.